A white-gloved hand slaps a glossy photograph down on the glass table. The sound echoes like a gunshot in the silent penthouse foyer. In that photo, a man in a tuxedo and a woman in a blood-red gown, locked in what looks like a passionate argument. The woman's face is twisted with fury, or is it heartbreak? We can't tell, because the next instant, the photograph is snatched away by its owner. Meet Marina Gray, the woman who has just discovered the picture that could shatter her entire world. She doesn't say a word. She can't. Rage, confusion, and a flicker of raw betrayal wore on her face. Across from her stands Richard Cross, a billionaire whose name alone sends corporate titans into hush. His eyes are cold, but his posture screams tension. Shoulders rigid beneath a custom-tailored suit. "You went too far," he says softly, but there is nothing soft in his tone. This is blackmail. You realize that Marina's fingers tighten on the picture. She wants to scream that she has no idea how this photograph ended up in her mailbox, wrapped in plain paper with a single line, "He's lying to you," but the words stick in her throat. Does Richard even deserve an explanation after what he's done? Outside, the city of Dallas sparkles cars, streetlights, neon signs. Inside, the air could snap ice. The penthouse's floor-to-ceiling windows reflect the tension in crystal clarity. She closes her eyes just for a moment, letting the hush of the air conditioning swirl around her. Then she opens them again, mustering the calm that has helped her survive so many storms before. "Tell me who sent this," Richard demands. Stepping forward, "I don't know," Marina answers, voice shakier than she'd like. "Do I look like someone who wants to blow up my own life?" He studies her face, searching for a flicker of dishonesty. When he finds none, his expression darkens in a different way, something like worry or regret. Then the moment is gone, replaced by the commanding mask he wears like a second skin. Behind them, a side door creaks open. Darla King, Marina's friend-turned-reluctant assistant, enters with caution. She says nothing, but her eyes sweep over the tension in the room. Instinct tells her now is not the time to speak. The phone on the marble counter rings, piercing the silence. Marina and Richard stare at each other, neither willing to look away first. Finally, Darla lifts the receiver. "Hello? Yes, she's here." A pause, her throat tightens. "Right, I'll let her know." She hangs up, swallowing hard. "Marina, it's the hospital. They say you need to come immediately. Something about your mother." Marina's heart clenches. The photograph, the betrayal, even Richard's looming presence all fade. There's only one thought in her head, "Mom." She bolts for the door without another word. Richard stays behind, fists clenched, as the photograph flutters to the ground again. We freeze frame on that single image, now face up on the polished floor, proof that something dire is about to unravel. 11 hours earlier, Marina Gray stood in the same penthouse, but the atmosphere was entirely different. A private fundraising dinner for a local children's hospital bustled with society's elite. Soft jazz music floated from a live band. Waiters in crisp uniforms glided between clusters of donors, carrying trays of champagne. Marina hovered near the large window, sipping a sparkling water. She wore a sleek navy blue cocktail dress that accentuated her figure without being ostentatious. Her eyes scanned the crowd, tension coiled in her posture. She wasn't a guest, she was here on a mission, and she had the ID badge to prove it: Senior Liaison, Cross Foundation. Behind her, the flamboyant chatter of rich benefactors swelled. Richard Cross, the foundation's billionaire benefactor and host for the evening, was making small talk with a senator's wife. Yet even in conversation, his gaze flicked toward Marina, a silent check on whether she was doing her job. For a moment, their eyes locked. She looked away first. "Still can't believe they made you come," Darla King whispered, slipping to Marina's side. "It's your night off. Shouldn't you be at the hospital with your mother?" Marina forced a smile. Richard insisted it was vital for the foundation. "Mom told me to go. Anyway, she hates me hovering over her." Darla shook her head. He's working you to the bone. You're allowed to live your own life. You know. Marina's face hardened. Darla, you of all people know I owe him everything. If it weren't for Richard Cross stepping in a year ago, paying her mother's medical bills, and offering Marina a stable job, she might have lost the only family she had. The gratitude weighed on her, but so did the uneasy sense of dependence. She'd come from nothing, a father who vanished, a mother fighting health issues, and a fiancé who left her when the bills got too steep. Richard was her savior, yes, but also her boss, and sometimes his demands felt personal. At that moment, a figure in a bright red dress sashayed across the floor. Evelyn Marks, a sultry socialite known for her closeness to Richard. Everyone whispered that she was more than a friend to him. She flashed Marina a cool smile. You might want to check on the silent auction table. Evelyn purred. Some items aren't getting the bids Richard expected. Marina dipped her head, biting back a retort. Evelyn always phrased suggestions like kindly advice, but there was an undercurrent of condescension that grated on Marina's nerves. As Marina headed to the auction area, she caught fragments of hushed gossip. She's just an employee. Richard is never serious with them, but she's smarter than the usual. Her cheeks burned, but she forced herself to remain composed. She was used to this, being labeled the help. At the auction table, she found the cause of low bids. The item cards were mislabeled. She fixed them swiftly. Just as she straightened the last card, she felt a presence behind her. Richard Cross stood there, arms folded. You're off your game tonight, he said quietly, but not kindly. Focus, Marina. We can't afford mistakes. She swallowed the sting. Understood. In the distance, the band changes tunes. She squares her shoulders, determined to prove her worth. But an ominous tension hums, foreshadowing the storm ahead. After the dinner concluded, Marina stayed behind to oversee cleanup, scanning the hall for any leftover paperwork or donor slips. Her phone buzzed with a single message. Marina, your mother's condition has worsened. Please come soon. Her breath caught. She tugged at the door leading backstage, searching for Richard to request immediate leave. He was in a side corridor, speaking in hushed tones with Evelyn Marquez. They stood too close for a standard business conversation. Evelyn's hand grazed Richard's lapel as if she owned him. Marina hesitated, not wanting to intrude, but her mother's emergency outweighed courtesy. Stepping forward, she cleared her throat. Mr. Cross, she said, voice trembling with worry. I need to leave. There's an issue with my mother at the hospital. Richard barely glanced at her. Not now. Marina, we have a crisis with the event funds. Some donors need immediate follow-up. You'll handle it. Evelyn's dark eyes flicked over, lips curling into a half-smile. I'm sure the mother will be fine. Dear. Richard can't do everything himself. Anger flashed behind Marina's eyes. My mother is... Richard lifted a silencing hand. You owe me, remember. His voice was quiet but steel-edged. The foundation covered tens of thousands for her treatment. This event funds your mother's care as much as anyone else's. We have a duty to these donors. It felt like a punch to the gut. She remembered the humiliating day she signed the contract, effectively binding her future to Richard's generosity. The memory still haunted her, but her mother's life was at stake. She risked pushing. Let me at least call the hospital. The staff can handle follow-up. Richard's gaze bored into her. I said handle it, Marina. Or do you prefer I stop payments to your mother's medical account? The threat hung, cold and final. He turned, guiding Evelyn away, leaving Marina in stunned silence. She stared at their retreating figures, her heart pounding with equal parts fury and desperation. Darla appeared a moment later, expression pained. I overheard. Marina, you can't keep doing this. It's not right. He's right, Marina whispered bitterly, though tears pricked her eyes. I do owe him. And my mother, she needs those funds. Darla squeezed her shoulder in silent empathy. I can call the hospital while you handle the donors. At least let me do that. Marina nodded, blinking back tears. Thank you. She forced herself to refocus, pulling up the donor list on her phone. She'd seen injustice before, but never with such personal stakes. Richard Cross was a man who saved lives. Sure, but he was also a man who believed that generosity made others his property. The phone calls took an hour. She plastered on a polite voice, coaxing wealthy patrons to finalize their promised donations. The irony cut deep. She was begging for money from strangers to ensure her mother stayed alive, all under the watchful eye of a man who held the power to destroy her. By the time she finished, the building felt eerie and empty. Quiet footsteps echoed. At the exit, a security guard gave her a sympathetic nod. She managed a polite smile. Though inside she felt small, outside, night drapes the city in black. The hospital is next. We sense the weight on Marina's shoulders: moral debt, a mother's health, and a boss who leverages her desperation. Injustice, indeed. It was after midnight when Marina finally reached St. Aurelia Medical Center. The fluorescent lights buzzed in the sterile corridor. She hurried to room 312, bracing for the worst news. Instead, she found her mother, Irene Gray, awake but frail, propped up against pillows. "Mom," Marina breathed, rushing to her side. "I came as soon as I could." Irene offered a weak smile. "I told them not to alarm you, but I guess they did anyway." Marina smoothed the sheet, her guilt mounting. "They said your vitals dropped." "What happened?" Irene sighed. "Just a glitch. Perhaps. You know me, full of surprises. One day stable, the next day my heart decides to dance a tango." In the corner, an older nurse busied herself with adjusting the IV drip. She gave Marina a gentle pat on the arm. "Your mother's a fighter. You take after her." "I bet." Then she left them alone. Marina swallowed hard, wishing she felt that strong. She debated telling her mother about Richard's ultimatum, but held back. Why cause extra worry? Irene needed rest, not more stress. Irene's gaze flicked to the partially open door. "Where's Mr. Cross? I thought he might stop by to check on me." A pang of anger rose in Marina's chest. She forced a neutral tone. "He's busy handling the foundation gala. You know, scheduling." She tried a gentle smile. "He's had a lot on his plate." Her mother's eyes flickered with gratitude. "He's such a blessing. Without him, we couldn't afford these treatments." Marina masked her conflicted feelings. "Yes, Mom, he's been very generous." She wished she could confide how that generosity sometimes felt like shackles. But Irene's health was precarious, so she bottled it up, letting her mother rest. Instead, she glanced around the hospital room, a small bouquet of flowers from a local volunteer group, the beep of machines, the faint antiseptic smell. This was the reality she fought for daily. She'd do anything to keep her mother alive, even endure Richard's manipulations. Outside in the hallway, a low voice drew her attention. She stepped out to see a man in a rumpled suit speaking with Dr. Lee, her mother's physician. The man looked up, meeting her eyes. He had a quiet sadness about him. "Hello," he offered. Stepping forward, "I'm Dr. Vincent Rowan. I specialize in cardiac research. I've been consulting on your mother's case." Marina glanced at Dr. Lee, who nodded. "Dr. Rowan has been reviewing advanced treatment protocols," Lee explained, "but they're expensive and experimental." Marina swallowed. Expensive, how Vincent grimaced. "Think upper six figures. Insurance doesn't cover it." "I'm sorry." Her shoulders sagged. Another mountain of debt. Another reason to remain trapped under Richard's generosity. She mustered a polite nod. "Thank you for trying, doctor." He gave a supportive squeeze to her shoulder. "I wish the system was kinder." As Dr. Rowan walked away, Marina felt tears welling. She pressed her back against the wall, letting the cool tile steady her. She hadn't realized how deeply entwined her life had become with Cross Foundation's money. Without it, how could she afford any chance at a breakthrough cure? She stands, silent and haunted, in that fluorescent corridor. There's a hidden dimension here, her desperate past choices, the fear gnawing at her future. Everything is about to shift in ways she can't imagine. Morning light streamed through the hospital's tall windows, reflecting off the polished floors. Marina had dozed in the chair by her mother's bed. A gentle tap on the door woke her. Darla King peeked in, face lined with concern. "I brought coffee," she said softly, passing a paper cup into Marina's grateful hands. Marina took a sip, savoring the bitter warmth. She glanced at her sleeping mother, then gestured for Darla to step outside. In the corridor, they spoke in hushed tone. "I tried updating you last night," Darla said, "but your phone went straight to voicemail. Are you okay?" Marina exhaled slowly. "Yeah, just exhausted. He refused to let me leave at first. Eventually, I got here. Thank you for stepping in with those donor calls." Darla's eyes flicked around the hallway, as if checking for eavesdroppers. "Listen, I found something." She handed over a folded piece of paper. "Saw it in Richard's office last night, on his desk. I think he's investigating something about your father." Confusion knotted Marina's brow. "My father, that can't be right. He walked out on us when I was a kid. I barely remember him. My mother never talked about it. She said he was gone for good." Darla shifted uncomfortably. "I can't read all the details, but it looked like a private investigator's report. Mentioned a man named Andrew Gray who might have used multiple aliases. There was also a reference to large debts, potential ties to organized crime." She shrugged. Richard highlighted a paragraph about collateral family members. "That might mean you." A chill crawled up Marina's spine. Why would Richard care about her estranged father's past? "He never asked me anything about it." Darla pressed her lips together. "Exactly. Makes me wonder, what is he planning? Is he using your father's skeletons to keep you under control? Or is there something else going on?" Marina felt her pulse spike. Another layer of secrets. She thought she understood the power Richard held over her finances, her mother's care. But this digging into a father she never knew, it reeked of manipulation, maybe blackmail. Before she could speculate further, her phone buzzed. The screen displayed Richard Cross. Darla threw her a look of caution. Marina answered with a steady voice. "Yes, Mr. Cross." His tone was clipped. "We need you back at the foundation office. Now, the Vaughn brothers, the major donors, are here unexpectedly. Bring the project proposals." She suppressed a weary sigh. "I'll be there soon." Hanging up, she closed her eyes, feeling as though each day demanded more sacrifice. "Be careful," Darla whispered, "and talk to your mom about your dad. Maybe she knows something you don't." Marina looked back toward the hospital room. Her mother still slept, face peaceful for now. Could she handle the truth if it was tied to old trauma? They had enough current crises. Yet a prickle of intuition told her the puzzle of Andrew Gray might be key to understanding why Richard had singled her out in the first place. They part ways in tense silence. Marina leaves the hospital with a sinking feeling that everything she believed about her father and about Richard's intentions may be on the verge of a seismic shift. Sunlight glinted off the mirrored skyscraper housing the Cross Foundation. Marina arrived, pulling her blazer tighter, feeling like armor. She stepped into the sleek lobby where digital panels displayed philanthropic achievements, children's clinics, scholarship funds, environmental initiatives, all overshadowed by the omnipresent face of the man behind it, Richard Cross. Riding the elevator to the 40th floor, she mentally rehearsed for the Vaughn brothers, meeting polished words, a confident stance. She'd done this dance many times, convincing wealthy benefactors to open their wallets. Yet her mind kept drifting to the private investigator's report. Could Richard be leveraging secrets from her father's past to ensure her compliance? When the door slid open, she was greeted by Grant Vaughn and Gavin Vaughn, twin philanthropists with a reputation for tough negotiations. Richard stood between them, wearing a cordial smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Marina," he said briskly, "the Vaughns are considering a major endowment. We need your expertise." She nodded politely. "Gentlemen, shall we step into the conference room?" Grant Vaughn motioned dismissively. "No need for formality. If Cross here can guarantee returns on investment, we'll sign, but we want to see the building plan for that pediatric wing." Marina handed them crisp brochures and laid out architectural renderings. She spoke with quiet passion, describing how the wing would serve children with chronic illnesses. offering advanced therapies. It was her own concept, an idea she'd nurtured after seeing how dire her mother's condition had become. She knew how crucial specialized care could be. "And you handle these expansions personally?" Gavin asked, flipping through the pages. Marina nodded. "Yes. I coordinate with local hospitals to ensure the design meets patient needs, not just aesthetic demands." Richard interrupted smoothly, "Which is why I hired her. She's dedicated." The Vaughn twins exchanged glances, then smiled. "We like it. Let's move forward," Grant said, closing the folder. "But we also want naming rights." Marina's eyes darted to Richard. That hadn't been on the table. Before she could protest, Richard nodded coolly. "Of course, the Vaughn Pediatric Center, if that suits." The twins grinned. "Done." They shook hands, promising final signatures by week's end. Once they were out of earshot, Marina looked at Richard. Naming rights, that was supposed to go to the highest philanthropic partner, with an open public forum. He waved her off. "It's a small compromise. We get the money faster. Don't question my methods." Marina, her jaw tightened, but she swallowed her protest. The foundation would gain millions. The wing would be built. That was what mattered. Right? Except she sensed a deeper pattern: Richard's shortcuts, his willingness to bypass her carefully laid ethical guidelines. She began to gather the papers. Richard watched her with a calculating gaze. "You and I need to talk. My office? Now." Marina's heart thumped. She followed him down the glass corridor, bracing for another confrontation. Inside, everything glistens with corporate opulence. But behind that veneer, the power dynamic is about to shift once more. Old ghosts and new bargains swirl, waiting to surface. The door clicked shut behind them in Richard's private office. Thick carpet, panoramic city views, and a wall of accolades. Marina stood near a leather chair, arms crossed. Richard set a manila folder on his imposing desk. "We have a problem," she braced. "Let me guess. You found something about my father." His eyes narrowed slightly. "I see Darla's been playing detective." He exhaled. "Yes, Andrew Gray's history is messy. He owed money to dangerous people. They threatened your mother and you when you were just a baby. He fled, leaving you both vulnerable." Marina's throat tightened. She'd always known her father left them, but not the violent details. So why investigate him now? Richard's gaze flicked to the folder. "I had to ensure your background wouldn't taint the foundation. We handle billions in philanthropic funds, and I won't let a personal liability compromise that." She stiffened. "So I'm a liability because of a father I never knew." He stepped closer, voice low. "I know it sounds cruel, but I can't risk scandal, especially with the Vaughns on board. People talk, reputations crumble, and your mother's medical finances. They could vanish if we lose major donors over rumors." She stared at him, anger flaring. "You're using this to control me." He didn't deny it. "I'm protecting my investments. That includes you." A swirl of emotions threatened to overwhelm her: indignation, fear, betrayal. But the memory of her mother's hospital bed pressed on her heart. She couldn't walk away from the foundation's support. Not yet. So she forced calm into her voice. "What do you want me to do?" His eyes flickered with triumph, as if he'd expected her to relent. "Keep your head down. Follow my lead, and do not pry into matters that don't concern you. If you stay in line, your mother's care continues uninterrupted. I'll even cover any advanced treatment you need." It felt like a deal with the devil, but she nodded slowly, swallowing her pride. "Fine." A ghost of a smile curved his lips. "That's all I ask." But as she turned to leave, a voice in her mind whispered, "He won't stop. He'll hold this father scandal over you forever." The searing realization that her father's abandonment still enslaved her. Decades later, weighed on her chest. When she stepped outside, the corridor felt colder. Darla waited, eyes filled with worry. Marina shook her head, unable to speak. Instead, she strode to the elevator. She needed air, needed to think. On the sidewalk, the city's bustle provided cover for her turmoil. Cars honked, pedestrians buzzed around. She felt invisible in the crowd. I can't keep living like this, she thought. But what choice do I have? As if answering. Her phone vibrated. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A distorted voice spoke. If you want to break free from Cross's hold, meet me at the old Redwood Diner tonight. 8 p.m. Come alone. Her heart skipped. Who is this silence? Then the line died. Marina stands on a busy corner, alone in a sea of strangers, gripping her phone like a lifeline. She's on the edge of a cliff. One step could be her downfall, or her salvation. At exactly 8 p.m. Marina pushed open the chipped glass door of Redwood Diner, an old greasy spoon on the outskirts of the city. Retro neon lights buzzed overhead. The smell of frying oil and stale coffee hung in the air. Only a few patrons dotted the worn vinyl booths. She felt conspicuously out of place in her office attire. Her eyes scanned for anyone who might have made that cryptic call. Then, in a corner booth, a hooded figure raised a hand and beckoned. Nervous tension coiled in her gut, but she approached. The figure pulled back the hood. Dr. Vincent Rowan. Marina blinked, both relieved and puzzled. You? He gestured for her to sit, glancing around as if to ensure they weren't overheard. I used an untraceable app to contact you. Sorry for the dramatics, but I have reason to believe Richard Cross is linked to something bigger than philanthropic work. Marina's mind reeled. You're not just a cardiac specialist? He sighed, rubbing his temples. I am, but I also do contract research for various donors, including the Cross Foundation. Let's say I discovered suspicious activities, financial funneling, shell accounts. It's as if Cross is funding more than just hospitals. She processed the claim. You think he's laundering money? Vincent nodded grimly. Or laundering it for someone else, I can't be sure. But if it goes public, it'll bring down the foundation. Maybe bring down real criminals too. But it'll also destroy any chance your mother has at advanced treatment. Insurance wouldn't touch an experimental procedure if the funding is tainted. Marina's heart pounded. This changed everything. If she exposed Richard, her mother's care evaporates. But if she stays silent, she's complicit. Why are you telling me this? I've seen your dedication. I suspect you don't want to remain under his thumb. I'm giving you a choice. Help me gather evidence to stop him, or keep quiet. Either way, you deserve to know. Tears pricked at her eyes, but she blinked them back. My mother, she's the only family I have. Vincent reached across the table, his voice gentle. There might be other ways to finance her treatment if we can prove Cross's corruption, federal programs, philanthropic rivals. It won't be easy, but it's not impossible. She shook her head, fear tangling with hope. This was the first time someone had offered her a path out of the cage Richard built. But it came with a deadly risk. How can I trust you? He opened his phone, showing her encrypted files, transaction logs, email chains. I risk my career by revealing this. We can blow the whistle together. Marina stared at the numbers on the screen. In that moment, a flicker of resolve sparked. Maybe, just maybe, she could fight back, reclaim her life, and still save her mother. As she rose to leave, footsteps shuffled behind her. She turned to see a figure slipping out the diner's door. The shape was too distant to identify, but instinct screamed, "We were watched." She locked eyes with Vincent. He'll know we're onto him. Vincent paled. Then we need to move fast. They exit into the neon-lit night, both glancing over their shoulders. A faint glow of hope emerges, but a shadow looms close behind. Marina's second drop is real, but so is the first spark of rebellion. The next day brought a storm of events that threatened to drown Marina's budding resolve. It started with an urgent message from Darla. We have a crisis. Richard wants you in his penthouse now. At the penthouse, she found Richard pacing near the windows, phone pressed to his ear. Thunderclouds gathered outside, matching his dark mood. When he finally ended the call, he spun to face her. You met with Dr. Rowan last night. It wasn't a question. Her stomach plunged. So he had eyes everywhere. Yes, regarding new treatment options for my mother. He studied her, suspicion etched across his features. Is that all? She forced a calm exhale. Unless you want to see the receipts for the coffee we drank. He eyed her for another tense beat, then turned away. The Vaughn brothers are threatening to pull out. They caught wind of some negative press hinting at questionable financial channels in the foundation's expansions. Her heart raced. Had Vincent leaked something already? She kept her voice level. Any idea who's behind the rumors? Richard's jaw clenched. If I knew, I'd stop them. But I suspect it's connected to Rowan. He's been snooping beyond his medical research. Marina swallowed. So what do you want me to do? He strode closer, gaze intense. Find out what Rowan's up to. You're close to him. Tell him you need details on your mother's treatment. Earn his trust. Report everything back to me. Tension knotted in her chest. He wanted her to spy. That's unethical. Richard's laugh held no humor. Spare me. You owe me your mother's life. Don't forget that. Her fist clenched at her sides. That old threat again. And if I say no, he lifted a brow, then kissed the advanced treatments goodbye. The cruelty of it took her breath away. She thought she'd known how far Richard would go, but each day he descended deeper. Just then, a door down the hall opened. Evelyn Marquez appeared, wearing an elegant blouse and an air of smugness. She paused, flicking a glance at Marina. Is there a problem here? Richard didn't look away from Marina. No problem. We were just discussing her responsibilities. Evelyn's lips curved. Excellent, because we need everything perfect for the upcoming Cross Foundation Gala. That means no more distractions. Marina's cheeks burned, but she refused to break eye contact with Richard. He eventually turned to Evelyn, changing the subject. See that the design team finalizes the venue layout. I can't risk any fiasco. Evelyn inclined her head, casting Marina a sidelong glance that mixed pity and contempt. Then she disappeared back down the corridor. Richard's voice turned low again. Do your job, Marina. Spy on Rowan. Keep me updated, or your mother suffers. Clear. She nodded stiffly, too angry to trust her voice. Outside, the storm broke, rain pounding the city. Marina fled the penthouse, heart pounding with a fury that bordered on despair. She needed a plan, and fast, before she lost whatever glimmer of self-determination she had left. Lightning flashes across the skyscrapers. Marina stands in the downpour, alone in her battle. The third drop is crushing. Not only must she betray a potential ally, but any misstep could cost her mother's life and her own soul. Midnight found Marina at Darla's small apartment, a far cry from the opulence of Richard's world. They sat at a cluttered kitchen table under a single overhead bulb, the hum of the fridge filling the silence. I can't spy for him, Marina hissed, eyes red from frustration. But if I don't, I'll lose everything for my mother. Darla poured 2 cups of chamomile tea. What about Rowan's plan? Exposing Richard's shady dealings might unravel the foundation, but maybe we can shield your mother's funding. Marina tapped the table anxiously. Rowan said there might be alternative donors or federal grants, but that's not guaranteed. And if Richard gets wind, I'm double-crossing him. He'll sabotage everything. Darla set her mug down with a soft thud. You can't fight this alone. A new voice emerged from the hallway. Maybe she doesn't have to. Jackson Hale, Darla's old friend from law school, stepped in. He wore rumpled jeans and a determined expression. I heard the short version. If you want to legally protect your mother's medical funding, we can set up an irrevocable trust. That way Richard can't just yank it on a whim. Marina blinked. But that means revealing certain finances to a lawyer, right? Doesn't that risk tipping him off? Jackson shrugged. You'd need a sympathetic judge. But if we argue that these funds are part of a philanthropic promise, we might freeze them so they can't be withdrawn based on personal vendettas. Hope flickered. That's an option. He nodded. We'd have to move quickly, and it won't be bulletproof if there's serious criminal activity behind the scenes. But it's a start. Marina's mind spun. Could she secure her mother's care, then collaborate with Rowan to expose Richard? It sounded risky, but less impossible than confronting him unprotected. Darla rummaged through a drawer, pulling out a battered laptop. Let's gather every document. Every email you have about your contract with Cross, your mother's medical bills, everything. We'll figure out a legal angle. They spent hours hunched over the table, scanning files, drafting a rough trust outline. Jackson explained legal concepts. Darla typed at a frantic pace. Marina recalled each time she signed an addendum or acceptance of Cross Foundation checks. Some documents turned her stomach, the manipulative language, the references to indefinite obligations. But each piece also fueled her resolve she had been a pawn too long. By 4 a.m., exhaustion weighed on them, but a sketch of a plan took shape. 1. Secure the medical funds in a trust. 2. Secretly gather evidence with Rowan. Present the case to authorities or a media outlet with enough influence to shield them from Richard's backlash. Marina slumped back, rubbing her temples. He's going to suspect something when I stop obeying. Darla eyed her with compassion. Then you have to pretend a while longer. Act like you're his pawn. Feed him enough to keep him off guard. Marina closed her eyes, a swirl of dread and hope. I'll do whatever it takes. They share a quiet moment in the dim kitchen. Outside, dawn approaches, heralding a new day in a small but potent glimpse of a comeback for Marina Gray. The following evening, the Cross Foundation Gala glittered at the Moonlight Ballroom, a lavish event space with crystal chandeliers and a panoramic view of the city skyline. High society arrived in droves, men in tuxedos, women in designer gowns. Camera flashes exploded near the entrance, capturing each notable arrival. Marina, wearing a floor-length emerald dress, stood by the large curved staircase, greeting VIP guests. Her posture was poised, her smile gracious, but inside she braced for a storm. Somewhere in this sea of wealth and influence, Dr. Vincent Rowan was gathering more evidence, and Jackson Hale might be slipping in discreetly to finalize paperwork for the trust. Richard Cross made his grand entrance with Evelyn Marquez on his arm. Marina forced a polite smile as they approached. Evelyn's eyes flicked over Marina's attire, an almost imperceptible sneer forming. "Lovely dress." "Marina," Richard said smoothly, "ensure you circulate with the donors tonight. We can't afford any slip-ups." She dipped her head. Of course. As the gala progressed, she performed her role flawlessly. She introduced patrons to foundation beneficiaries, highlighted the success stories from pediatric centers, and kept an eye on Rowan. He lurked near the bar, sipping soda water, occasionally glancing at the upper balcony. Was that where he expected her to meet him grandly? She slipped away from the main floor. The corridor leading to the balcony was dimly lit. She found Rowan waiting by a large window that overlooked the entire gala floor. He spoke in a low whisper. "I've uncovered more. Richard has side accounts funneling money to a group known as Tremaine Holdings, an alleged front for organized crime." Marina's stomach clenched. "That's bigger than we guessed." She handed him a small flash drive. "Here's what I have: partial transaction statements from my personal Cross Foundation portal. Jackson said it might help link the philanthropic money to those shell accounts." Rowan tucked it away, gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you. But be careful. If Richard or Evelyn sees us suddenly." A voice cut through the shadows. Too late. They spun around. Evelyn Marquez stepped forward, arms folded, red gown flowing behind her like a vengeful flame. "So this is what you're up to." Plotting behind Richard's back, Marina's heart thundered. How much had Evelyn heard? Evelyn's lips curved with sinister glee. "You think I don't know about Tremaine Holdings? Do you realize who you're dealing with? If you expose them, you'll have more than just Richard to worry about. Tremaine isn't the type to forgive." Rowan squared his jaw. "We can't stand by while Cross channels money to criminals." Evelyn laughed, low and dangerous. "Oh, sweet, naive doctor. You have no idea how high this goes." She turned her gaze on Marina. "And you? I tried to warn you to stay in your lane. Now you've forced my hand." Marina swallowed hard. Evelyn's tone suggested a threat well beyond a petty spat. With a sudden swirl of her gown, Evelyn retreated back down the hallway. Rowan grabbed Marina's arm, alarmed. "She'll go straight to Richard. We have to leave before this escalates." Marina hesitated. "I can't just run. I have a plan to protect my mother's trust." Give me a few minutes, but the wail of sirens outside cut her off. Then the lights flickered. Something big was happening. They exchange a panicked look. Below, the gala hum turns to confusion. The confrontation has begun, and stacked twists are about to detonate. Suddenly, a voice boomed through the ballroom's speaker system. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. We have a security alert. Uniformed officers spilled into the venue, forming a perimeter. Guests murmured anxiously, some drifting toward the exits. Marina and Rowan rushed to the balcony railing, peering down. Richard Cross stood at the center of the room, flanked by two stern-faced detectives. Evelyn hovered at his side, her expression triumphant. One detective raised a badge. We have a warrant to collect financial documents related to the Cross Foundation. We also have reason to believe an individual at this event is in possession of stolen or classified files. His gaze swept the crowd. Dr. Vincent Rowan, please step forward. Rowan's grip tightened on the railing. They're turning it around on me. Marina's mind raced. If Rowan was arrested, the evidence on him could vanish, and her mother's trust arrangement hadn't been finalized. We have to get you out of here. Below. Richard took the microphone, his voice calm but authoritative. Guests, I apologize for this interruption. Authorities will handle it swiftly. Please cooperate. We want everything resolved quietly. At that moment, Jackson Hale slipped onto the balcony behind them, panting. I just heard. The cops think Rowan hacked the Foundation's servers. They'll confiscate everything he has. Marina's stomach churned. We can't let them. That data is proof of Richard's crimes. Jackson nodded. Here, sign these trust papers now, before they freeze your assets or your bank access. I managed to push it through online, but I need your final signature. He held out a small digital pad. Shaking with adrenaline, Marina scrawled her signature. Is that enough? Jackson pressed a button. It's filed. As of now, your mother's medical funds are locked in a trust. Richard can't pull them without a court battle. Relief and fear collided within her. She turned to Rowan. You need to escape with the flash drive. I'll distract them. Rowan hesitated. They'll come after you. She set her jaw. Let them. I'm done being their pawn. They made a quick plan. Rowan and Jackson slipped behind a staff door leading to the loading dock. Meanwhile, Marina mustered every ounce of courage and descended the winding staircase into the chaos. She approached Richard and the detectives, hands raised in a show of compliance. There's been a misunderstanding, she announced, voice steady yet loud enough to carry over the anxious crowd. Doctor, Rowan is innocent. If you need to arrest someone, arrest me. Richard's eyes blazed with shock and fury. Evelyn's smug smile faltered. The lead detective frowned. Who are you? Marina squared her shoulders. Marina Gray, senior liaison at the Cross Foundation. I have the records you're looking for. Richard seized her arm, his nails biting into her flesh. What are you doing? He hissed. She stared back, unwavering. Telling the truth, camera shutters snap, capturing this standoff. The crowd gasps, the tension electric. Marina has triggered the meltdown, putting herself in the crosshairs to save Rowan and the incriminating data. A stacked twist indeed. Evelyn wasted no time. She stepped forward, her voice dripping venom. Detective, Miss Gray is an employee with access to sensitive files. She's been conspiring with Rowan to steal proprietary data and blackmail Mr. Cross. Marina held her ground. That's a lie. She faced the detective directly. I have reason to believe Cross Foundation funds are being diverted to shell companies linked to Tremaine Holdings. The real criminals are the ones orchestrating that. Richard's face hardened. Marina, we discussed your father's history, your involvement with criminal elements. She's desperate for money. Detective, she'll say anything. The detective's gaze ping-pong between them. We'll sort this out at the station. Ms. Gray, if you're making a formal accusation, you'll need evidence. Marina's heart pounded. The real evidence was on Rowan's flash drive. She needed to buy him time to escape. I'll fully cooperate. But please, don't let these men confiscate or destroy data without a proper warrant. A second detective stepped up, brandishing a set of cuffs. "We'll start by taking you in for questioning. Mr. Cross, we'll need access to your servers, too." Richard gave a slow nod, spinning the situation. "Of course. I want full transparency. I have nothing to hide." His cool confidence sent a chill through Marina. She knew he was calculating a contingency plan, maybe forging documents or ensuring certain servers get accidentally wiped. Evelyn would assist with the cover-up. The detective motioned to Marina, "Ma'am, come with us." As they led her away, flashbulbs popped. The press had field day material, Cross Foundation under investigation. Star employee accused, Rowan missing. Amid the swirl of gawking guests, she caught a glimpse of Darla's worried face. Then she locked eyes with Richard. He mouthed something, "You're done." But her thoughts turned to Rowan, to Jackson's finalizing the trust. If they succeeded, her mother's care was safe, and they'd have a shot at bringing Richard's empire down. That hope gave her the strength to keep her chin high, even as she was escorted through the lobby in handcuffs. Once outside, the detective guided her into the back of a squad car. Cameras flashed, rain drizzled. She felt humiliated, but also defiant. Inside the car, her phone vibrated in her purse, which an officer had placed beside her. She managed to sneak a quick glance, a text from Jackson. "Rowan is safe. He has the files." Relief pulsed through her. She also noticed another text from a hidden number. "You think you've won? Tremaine doesn't forget." Her blood ran cold. So the real threat extended beyond Richard. She was caught in a web that included an organized crime front. The car door slammed, cutting off her view. The detective climbed into the front seat. "Ms. Gray, can you confirm your legal counsel?" Marina swallowed. Meeting his eyes in the rearview mirror, "Jackson Hale. He'll meet us there." As the squad car pulled away from the swirling lights of the gala, she let out a shaky breath. She'd blown up her life, but maybe that was the price of freedom. In the reflection of the rain-soaked window, we see her determined gaze. The confrontation has peaked. Everything is at stake, and multiple twists swirl. The real question, who will come out unscathed when the dust settles? By dawn, Marina found herself released on bail, courtesy of Jackson's legal maneuvering. She stood in the courthouse parking lot, the morning sky tinged pale gray, her eyes stinging from lack of sleep. Jackson's old sedan idled nearby. She turned to him, arms wrapped around herself for warmth. "What happens now?" Jackson rubbed his neck. "They're holding your statement. Rowan is set to hand over the evidence to a federal financial crimes unit. If it's solid, the government might step in. Cross could be indicted." A swirl of relief and fear made her dizzy. "And if his lawyers bury it," Jackson shrugged grimly. "We'll fight them, but you did the right thing. You're not alone in this." She managed a shaky smile. Then her phone rang. It was Darla. "I just checked the foundation building. They're locked down. Richard and Evelyn are inside, scrambling with files. The rumor is they're planning a press conference at noon to spin the story." Marina's stomach clenched. "They'll label me the rogue employee, blame everything on me and Rowan. They'll claim the foundation is squeaky clean." "Exactly," Darla muttered. "But we have one chance to beat them to the punch. Rowan can share the real documents with a reputable reporter. We just need to confirm it." Marina ended the call, exhaling. "They're going to smear me. That's a given. But if Rowan goes public first..." Jackson patted her shoulder. "Then the Cross Foundation's narrative might collapse under actual proof." She glanced at the courthouse's stone facade, a symbol of justice she could only hope would be on her side. "Let's do it. Where's Rowan?" A beep alerted her to an incoming text. It was from Rowan meeting journalist at Lakeside Cafe. 10 a.m. Perfect. That gave them a small window to regroup. Her heart soared for a moment until she remembered the text from that hidden number Tremaine doesn't forget. She had to consider the possibility of real danger. But running now would solve nothing. She slid into Jackson's car. "We'll go see Rowan." The drive to Lakeside Cafe was tense and quiet, passing the city's early morning bustle. Billboards and business towers blurred by. She stared at them, recalling the night she first stepped into Richard's office. She'd been so relieved to have a benefactor, never suspecting the cod. At the cafe, a modest place overlooking a small urban lake, they spotted Rowan at an outdoor table with a serious-looking woman. He introduced her as Diane Patel, an investigative journalist known for hard-hitting exposés on corporate fraud. Rowan got right to the point. Diane has everything. She's verifying the data with some contacts in the financial crimes division. If it checks out, she'll go live with the story. Diane nodded. The public deserves to know. But I have to warn you, Richard's legal team will come at you with everything. They might threaten your mother's care. Marina's jaw tightened. They can't. I secured a trust. Diane gave a small, approving smile. Then let's bring the truth into the light. Marina glances at her phone, noticing the time. 4 hours until Cross's press conference. The final showdown looms. She steels herself, ready to confront whatever emerges next. At 11:45, news vans lined up outside the Cross Foundation headquarters. Cameras pointed at the building's shiny facade. A makeshift podium stood on the steps, flanked by the foundation's golden logo. City officials and curious onlookers gathered. Everyone anticipated Richard Cross's statement regarding the scandal. Marina, Jackson, Rowan, and Diane Patel arrived together. Stepping out of a modest car, she felt the weight of countless eyes. Whispers darted through the crowd. There she is, the alleged traitor. Darla rushed to meet them at the edge of the throng. Security is checking IDs at the door. Richard wants to keep you out. Diane patted the satchel holding her laptop. He can't silence a free press. Let's see them try. They pushed through the crowd, making their way to the front. On the steps, Richard Cross appeared with Evelyn Marquise. Cameras started flashing. He raised a hand for silence, adopting a calm, almost paternal demeanor. Good afternoon, Strava. The Cross Foundation has always stood for transparency and philanthropy. Recent allegations suggest some misappropriation of funds. We take this seriously. He paused, glancing at a note card. Unfortunately, it seems Ms. Marina Gray, a former employee, conspired with Dr. Vincent Rowan to fabricate data for personal gain. A wave of murmurs rippled. Richard continued. We believe Miss Gray also has ties to questionable sources, a legacy from her father's criminal past. We regret not seeing the signs sooner. Marina's breath caught. He was burying her under her father's sins. Evelyn stepped forward, feigning sorrow. We are heartbroken by this betrayal. We discovered Ms. Gray attempted to extort us. That was the final straw. Marina strode up the steps, facing the cameras. Lies. You used my father's background to keep me under control. You threatened my mother's medical care, and you funneled money into Tremaine Holdings. A hush fell. Richard glared. Remove her. A security guard moved in, but Diane Patel raised her press badge high. I'm an accredited journalist. If you touch her, you're interfering with the press. The guard hesitated, looking to Richard for direction. Evelyn's voice cut in sharply. We have every right to. But Rowan stepped forward, brandishing a folder. We have bank statements, wire transfers, and more. Copies have been sent to federal investigators. The Vaughan brothers are pulling their donation. They know the truth. The crowd stirred, reporters now jostling for position, microphones thrust forward. Jackson cleared his throat. Furthermore, Ms. Gray's mother's trust is legally secure. Any attempt by Mr. Cross to revoke it will be contested in court. A shadow crossed Richard's face. He seemed to realize that they had outmaneuvered him. I have powerful allies, he growled. Tremaine Holdings will. Diane Patel pounced. So you admit a connection to Tremaine Holdings? His eyes flashed. Evelyn grabbed his arm, whispering urgently, but the microphone picked up enough. The crowd realized there was more truth in that slip than Richard intended. Moments later, a group of federal agents appeared, suits and badges gleaming. One stepped forward, speaking firmly. Richard Cross, Evelyn Marquise, we have a warrant for your arrest on suspicion of financial crimes, conspiracy, and fraud. A stunned silence overtook the scene. Cameras whirred, capturing every second. Richard tried to speak, but only stunned stammers emerged. Evelyn's mask of composure cracked completely. Marina felt her legs wobble. She inhaled, letting the magnitude wash over her. It was over, or so she thought. Behind the swirl of arrests and flashing cameras, a quiet moment of victory, but also the creeping sense that powerful enemies might not fall so easily. Yet for now, the facade has crumbled. A week later, Marina stood outside the hospital chapel at St. Aurelia Medical Center. Her mother had just come out of a crucial procedure, one funded by the trust, that was now safely beyond Richard's grasp. Sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, painting the corridor in soft blues and golds. She leaned against the wall, her heart a mix of relief and exhaustion. Jackson approached, offering a gentle smile. They said the operation went well. She nodded, tears prickling. "I can't believe we made it." Dr. Vincent Rowan appeared next, still wearing his scrubs. "Your mother's stable. The next 48 hours are critical, but I'm optimistic. And the federal task force found enough evidence to keep Richard and Evelyn behind bars for a while." Marina's shoulders sagged with gratitude. "It feels unreal, but thank you for everything." Rowan gave a modest shrug. "We all played a part. Diane Patel's article is out. Public support is on your side. Even the Vaughn brothers might redirect their donation to a new philanthropic group, one untainted by corruption." She smiled wryly. "It won't be easy to rebuild. The Cross Foundation's name is tarnished, and donors are skittish. But maybe there's a chance to start fresh, do real good without dirty money." A door creaked open. Darla King peered out, eyes bright. "Marina, the nurse says you can see your mom now." Relief flooded her. She excused herself, walking into the recovery room. Irene Gray was drowsy but awake, tubes and monitors around her. When she saw Marina, her eyes lit with a weak but genuine smile. "Mom." Marina whispered, tears slipping free. She took her mother's hand. "We did it. You're safe now." Irene squeezed her daughter's fingers. "You've always been strong, dear, stronger than you know." For a few precious minutes, they spoke in hushed tones about the future, about Irene's rehabilitation, about a life free from the constant fear of financial ruin. Marina avoided the darker details, not wanting to burden her mother's fragile spirit. The important part was that Irene was getting a real chance. Afterward, Marina slipped outside for a breath of fresh air. Rowan stood near the exit, waiting. "Any idea what you'll do next?" he asked gently. Marina gazed at the horizon, where the late afternoon sun painted the sky in fiery oranges. "I'm not sure. I have these skills. Organizing, fundraising. Maybe I'll start my own nonprofit. Something small but honest." A faint smile graced Rowan's lips. "You'd be amazing at it. And if you need help bridging the medical research side, I'm here." Before she could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Enjoy your victory. Tremaine never forgets." Her chest tightened. That name again. She read it twice, a chill running down her spine. Would they come after her for dismantling Richard's pipeline? Possibly, but she'd face it, just like she'd faced everything else. She tucked the phone away, forcing her shoulders back. This was her moment. She refused to let fear spoil it. As the camera pulls back, we see a woman who broke free from exploitation and corruption. She's not unscathed, but she stands taller now, with her mother safe and her own resolve forged. The final line resonates. Tremaine never forgets. A quiet promise that a deeper threat lurks, teasing part two's shadow on the horizon.